Great, thank you. Yes, I'm Francisca Mutapi. I'm based at the University of Edinburgh. I work on global health. I conduct fundamental scientific research, which is then used to inform policy and practice in the control of neglected tropical diseases, particularly bilharzia or schistosomiasis. So it's very clear that helminth infections modulate the immune system. There's a lot of experimental studies from the mouse model, which are giving mechanisms of this. It's very, very difficult to translate directly from the mouse experimental model to the humans. So my work, and those of several other people, has been focusing on the human infection to understand what is happening to the immune system when you have a helminth infection. We know that you do modulate the immune system. My particular interest is focusing on children aged 5 years and below, because a lot of the excitements in the immune system are happening during that early stage. There's a lot of changes in diet and also in development. So we're very keen to understand what is happening to the immune system in that very age group, and certainly what happens when they have a helminth infection. One of the factors that impacts very greatly on the immune system is the microbiome, particularly the gut microbiome. Again, we know from experimental studies that you can alter the immune system dramatically by altering the gut microbiome, but very few studies in humans, and certainly to date, no studies on the gut microbiome in children who are in helminth endemic areas, particularly schistosomes. So that is one of the areas that I am working on to see how the immune responses are changing as they develop and as their gut microbiome becomes established.
What challenges do you expect? You're dealing with children in resource-poor settings. What type of challenges do you expect in that setting?
Well, from the areas that we've been working with, really we get a lot of buy-in from the communities. They're very happy to turn up really in thousands with children as young as a month old to be involved in any research work that would benefit their health. So the uptake and the community support is vast. But the big challenges are the technological approaches, the diagnostics that you can use to detect infection in very, very young children, how applicable lab and high-tech diagnostics are in the field setting is a big challenge. So we need development there. We're also particularly interested in my research group of co-infections. Helminths do not occur in isolation, and certainly there's comorbidities with non-infectious diseases, things like malnutrition. So the challenges we have is multiple diagnostics, looking at a lot of infections at the same time, a lot of other diseases, putting that together into a platform that allows you to judge the impact of all the different aspects on a child's health.
Okay, so you'd say that the big gap, and we've heard this again and again, is the diagnostics world, that getting that fourth quadrant of the healthcare model engaged in terms of this particular area. That is very interesting. Just stepping back a little bit, I think you've underplayed it. You said the uptake in terms of the participation in these programs by families with small children has been great. I mean, you're underplaying that. What would you think are the drivers of success behind that? Have there some kind of engagement program that you've done, or what was it that's made that particular aspect so successful?
Okay, so I conduct most of my field work in Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe has one of the highest literacy rates in the world, 97% literacy in adults. People are educated, they are aware of the health impact. And with something like bilharzia, because one of the classic symptoms is urine that is red from blood, when you show the parents blood in urine, they know their children are infected. So they are aware of the disease. They have seen it in themselves and in their children. And any program that is designed to help is really, really important. So for example, myself and colleagues are running a national control program in Zimbabwe that is treating every primary school child in Zimbabwe every year for 5 years. That's about 5 million children. And one of the big questions we've received from the parents is, you're focusing on primary school children aged 6 years and above. What about the preschool children? When are you coming to treat them? And we've had to explain, yes, we will when we have a very good way of accessing the children, and when we also have a good formulation of praziquantel for the children, rather than the big tablets, then we can involve them in mass drug administration.
I mean, we've got Merck here, Claude Ouvray, and I'm sure you know him in the Global Alliance for Schisto, and Merck's work in pediatric reformulation or pediatric formulation of praziquantel. So that's going on route. just coming back into that bit in terms of preschool children, what type of engagements would you, or what kind of structures could you lean on that are already present in Zimbabwe as an example to get to those children, to get to those families?
Indeed. So we're very lucky in Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe has a decentralized health system. And in addition to that, healthcare is free at point of use. So even in the most remote areas, we have a situation where it is mandatory for a parent to take their child to the clinic every month for the first 5 years of life for monitoring of health and growth. And every child has a baby card, which they are given upon birth, which records everything from every diarrheal episode they have, all their vaccinations, vitamin A supplementation. So we're thinking, they're bringing the child to the clinic every month. Why not incorporate a helminth control strategy in that aspect? And it is recorded, and it would be much, much cheaper and much, much more effective to use that kind of health system. Other people can use the EPI, Extended Program of Immunization. Children have to be in the same area at the same time over a period of time. That is also a way you can access the preschool children.
So what I wanted to also ask you is, what type of collaborations or partnerships are you looking to form? And I ask you this because today is designed to give a tangible outcome to every participant. You know, maybe it's a follow-up meeting, or we want something good to come from today. So what type of collaborations, what type of partnerships are you interested in making?
Sure. So I already have an ongoing relationship with Merck. We're very much associated with them through the pediatric praziquantel formulation. I noticed that Nestle are here today. They are a very important player in nutrition. The talk that I will give later will focus very much on the microbiome, particularly the gut microbiome, and Nestle would have an important input in that. So I'll be very interested to hear in what they have to say. We heard earlier as well from Jensen. They're very interested in diagnostics. Another area of my studies has been not only infection diagnosis, but morbidity diagnosis, disease diagnosis. So it will be very interesting to have a chat to them to see what their research portfolio is and maybe find an area of synergy.
Fantastic. And I think it's the right time for it because the political will exists and the science exists. So it's time to marry the both off. I'd like to wish you all the success in the world with your work and the presentation for this afternoon. And thank you very much for agreeing to be interviewed.